If you've ever felt controlled in a relationship but couldn't explain why, this video will change how you see everything. That sinking feeling, the second guessing, the emotional roller coaster you couldn't get off. It wasn't all in your head. You just never had the words to describe what was happening. Today, we're breaking the silence on something that affects millions of men, but is rarely talked about. Not because it's rare, but because it's subtle. These are the manipulation tactics women use to control men without even realizing it. And once you learn how they work, they'll never work on you again. Tactic 1. The disappearing warmth. One day she's sending heart emojis, laughing at your jokes, making plans for the weekend. The next day, dry texts, one-word replies. I'm fine. No, nothing's wrong. Then silence. You feel it instantly, that shift in her energy. The warmth is gone, and your mind starts spinning. What did I do? Did I say something wrong? Is she losing interest? You rewind every conversation, every message, every moment, looking for the error you can't find. And that confusion, that's the trap. Her sudden withdrawal isn't random. It's not about something you did, it's about how you react. Because this isn't just silence, it's a psychological pressure test. Her biology is asking, will he stay grounded or will he spiral? If you panic, if you chase, if you apologize for things you didn't do, you're sending one loud message. My emotional stability depends on you. And the moment you say that, even without words, she knows. She has control. Here's what most men don't realize. Women don't consciously plan this. They don't wake up saying, today I'm going to manipulate his emotions. This is ancient programming, passed down through millions of years. It's the same instinct that tells a woman to test a bridge before she walks across it, to test a man before she trusts him with her life. Because if your emotions collapse from distance, how will you handle pressure if a few quiet hours make you beg for answers? What happens when real life gets hard? In her subconscious mind, your reaction becomes data. She's not punishing you, she's measuring you. And here's the paradox. The man who stays calm, who doesn't chase, who holds his frame without flinching, that man doesn't get punished. He gets respected. Not because he ignored her, but because he didn't crumble. You must understand. Her warmth disappeared to see what you'd do when it was gone. Would you keep your power, or would you give it away for the illusion of comfort? Tactic 2. The perfect mirror. She walks into your life like a dream. She loves your music, laughs at your jokes, shares your political views, wants the same future, kids, career, travel, peace. You sit there thinking, how did I get this lucky? She's perfect. She's me. And that's exactly what it feels like, a reflection. But what you don't see is that it's not her reflection of you. It's her biology reflecting you back to yourself, like a chameleon wearing your personality. This is called mirroring, and it's not fake. It's not acting. It's not lying. It's adaptive bonding. Her subconscious studies you, your values, your needs, your emotional wounds, and builds a persona that fits into every gap you didn't know you had. Because in the early stages of connection, her biology has one goal: secure your investment, make you fall, make you bond, make you believe you've finally been understood. But here's the twist. Once that bond is locked in, the mask drops. Suddenly, the girl who loved road trips hates leaving the city. The one who supported your goals starts questioning your priorities. The woman who admired your independence now sees it as selfishness. And you sit there asking, what happened to the woman I fell in love with? Answer, she was never there. At least not in the way you thought. She was a mirror. And the moment you believed the reflection, the mirror shattered. But don't mistake this for malice. She didn't do this to deceive you. She did it to survive. Because in her evolutionary code, mirroring is a mating strategy. Fit in, get chosen, then reveal. But here's what separates grounded men from lost ones. The grounded man doesn't cling to the mask. He notices the shift and observes. He asks, who is she when she's no longer trying to impress me? Who is she when she's being herself? That's who you build with, not the mirror, not the fantasy, but the real woman behind the mask. And if the real version isn't aligned, you don't fight her, you free her and walk. Because once you understand this, you stop falling for compatibility and start testing for authenticity. Tactic 3, guilt as a weapon. She doesn't scream. She doesn't demand. She just looks disappointed. You ask, what's wrong? She sighs. Nothing. But her tone says everything. And just like that, you fold. You start replaying the day in your head. Did I forget something? Was I too distracted? Was I not affectionate enough? You walk into the trap willingly. And the worst part, she didn't even ask you to. This is how guilt becomes a weapon. Not through yelling, not through threats, through emotional pressure so quiet, it sounds like your own thoughts. Here's what's really happening. She's not telling you how she feels. She's projecting it onto you and letting your protector instinct do the rest. Because deep down you've been programmed to believe, if she's unhappy, it must be my fault. So now every time she's moody, distant, or sad, you scramble. You start adjusting yourself, changing how you speak, rewriting your schedule, apologizing for crimes you didn't commit. You're no longer her man. You're her emotional caretaker. And that's the power of this tactic. She never has to say the words because you punish yourself. But understand this. She's not doing this consciously. This is biology playing chess. Her subconscious figured out something early in life. If I'm sad and he cares, he'll change. And it worked. So she kept doing it again and again and again until your entire relationship became a quiet negotiation, her feelings, for your behavior. But here's what they never tell you. The more you adjust, the more she tests, because now she knows. I don't have to communicate. I just have to hurt, and he'll fix it. You're being trained like a dog, not by her cruelty, but by her conditioning. And every time you obey the guilt signal, the pattern deepens. So what's the solution? Not coldness, not cruelty, not detachment. The solution is clarity. The next time she withdraws and you feel that guilt creeping in, ask calmly, would you like to talk about it, or should we circle back later? If she deflects or plays the victim, don't chase, don't beg, don't offer gifts to buy your way back in. Hold your center, because guilt only works on men who abandon their logic to protect her feelings. When you stop reacting, the pattern breaks, and she's forced to do something radical. Communicate like an adult. Tactic 4, hot and cold games. 1 week, she's all over you, calling you baby every 5 minutes, sending long texts filled with heart emojis, tagging you in cute memes and kissing you like she missed you her whole life. You feel wanted, you feel chosen, you feel safe, but then it shifts. Suddenly her replies are slow, her energy cold. You go from good morning babe to K. I'm busy, maybe later, and now you're spiraling. Did I mess up? Is she mad at me? What did I say wrong? But that's the exact reaction her biology was designed to provoke. This isn't just a mood swing. It's a system, a psychological loop called intermittent reinforcement, the same strategy slot machines use to make gamblers keep playing. Here's how it works. She gives you affection, dopamine spike, then suddenly withholds it, dopamine crash. Your brain panics and starts chasing the next high. You don't even want her. You want the version of her that gave you that rush. And now you're texting more, calling more, doing more, just to get her warmth back. But here's what makes this dangerous. When a woman plays hot and cold, she becomes the thermostat for your emotions. When she's warm, you feel alive. When she's cold, you feel anxious. You're no longer leading, you're reacting. And every time you reward her coldness with extra effort, more calls, more gifts, more reassurance, you're teaching her one thing. The colder I act, the harder he works. Let's be clear, she's not evil. She's just conditioned. This pattern works. It creates results. It gets men addicted. And unless you see it for what it is, you'll confuse psychological warfare with passion. So how do you break the cycle? Simple. Stop chasing warmth. Start demanding consistency. When she gets cold, you don't panic. You don't overinvest. You observe. You ask, is this who she becomes when she doesn't get her way? Is this her conflict style? Or is this a manipulation style? Because here's the truth. Real love doesn't feel like a withdrawal symptom. If her warmth feels like a drug, and her silence feels like punishment, you're not in love. You're being conditioned. And it ends the moment you stop dancing to her temperature. Tactic 5. The suggestion trap. She never says, buy me that. Take me there. Do this for me. That would be too obvious. Instead, she smiles and says things like, I saw this necklace online today. It was so pretty. My friend's boyfriend just surprised her with flowers. So cute. I've never been to a rooftop restaurant before. She's not asking, she's planting seeds. And if you're unaware, you'll water those seeds with your time, money, and energy, thinking it was your idea all along. This is what makes suggestion the most subtle form of manipulation. It doesn't sound like a command, it doesn't feel like control, but it is control, cloaked in casual conversation. Because the moment you act on her suggestion, you feel like the hero, like the thoughtful man who just made her day. But who gave you that idea? She did. Here's the trap. You think you're leading, but you're dancing to music she's been playing in the background. And the more you respond to these hints, the more she learns how to program your behavior without ever having to ask. Let's be clear. This isn't evil. It's evolution. Men are direct. Women are strategic. For thousands of years, women developed influence through indirection because asking outright made them look needy or demanding. So they learned how to speak in code, how to spark actions through implication, not instruction. It's effective, it's quiet, and it works perfectly on men who want to impress. But here's the danger. If you're constantly taking action based on her suggestions, you stop making decisions based on your values. You're no longer doing what feels right. You're doing what sounds like it'll impress her. That's not leadership. That's puppetry. So how do you escape the trap? Awareness. When she drops a hint, pause and ask yourself, do I want to do this? Or am I just trying to prove something? Is this a shared desire or a programmed behavior? You're not rejecting thoughtfulness. You're rejecting unconscious control. And once she realizes you're not easily swayed by soft suggestions, she either steps into honest communication or she leaves because her power's gone. There's nothing wrong with giving, but when suggestion becomes a tool for silent control, that's no longer love. That's manipulation wearing perfume. Tactic 6. Love bombing and emotional overwhelm. She comes in fast, too fast. Day 1, you're not like other guys. Day 2, I feel so safe with you. Day 3, I've never felt this before. Day 5, I think I love you. And you're hooked. You're thinking, finally, a woman who sees me, gets me, wants me. But what you don't realize is you're being flooded. This is love bombing, a rush of attention, praise, and affection that feels intoxicating at first, but slowly turns into emotional dependence. It doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like magic. You open up faster. You invest deeper. You drop your guard because the energy is so intense, it must be real. Right? Wrong. It's real. But it's not sustainable. And that's the trick. Because once the fireworks fade, as they always do, you're left with silence. She stops texting every hour. She stops calling you my king. She pulls back, and suddenly you feel empty. And now you start chasing, not her, but the feeling she gave you. You start wondering, what did I do wrong? How do I get back to how it used to feel? That's how she locks you in. You don't crave her. You crave the version of her that doesn't exist anymore. And here's the deeper truth. She wasn't acting. She really did feel that rush. Chemically, her body was high on dopamine, oxytocin, and the thrill of newness. But she didn't fall in love with you. She fell in love with the feeling of falling. And when that feeling faded, so did her investment. But yours stayed because you bonded through her intensity. And now your emotional thermostat is set to a temperature she has no intention of keeping. This is how men get trapped in one-sided relationships, always trying to recreate the early days, always confused why things feel off, always blaming themselves for a shift they didn't cause. Because here's what nobody tells you. Love bombing is not a promise. It's bait. And unless you recognize it for what it is, you'll keep chasing a ghost. So how do you protect yourself? Simple. Watch the pace. If it moves too fast, too early, pause. Because here's the truth. You can't logic someone out of a behavior they didn't logic themselves into. Because here's what separates good women from toxic ones. A good woman adjusts when manipulation doesn't work. A toxic woman escalates. One values respect. The other only respects power. Most men lose themselves trying to keep a woman happy. They abandon logic. They ignore red flags, while being controlled by emotional tactics that don't even come from her conscious mind. You're not at war with her. You're at war with your own need to be chosen. So here's your challenge. Stop reacting. Start observing. Stop trying to be enough. Start becoming whole. Because the most powerful man in the room is the one who doesn't flinch when someone else gets emotional. I make more videos like this, so make sure you like, share, and subscribe to see future videos.